Well, the evening's been full of just BattleNet delays, but we're running right on into the second match. As McCormick and Cash had mentioned, my old shift with me, Cruz. We've got the Barry Buccaneers going up against the High Point University Panthers. Should be a pretty good one here. I mean, all intents and purposes, I think a lot of people are looking at this Group G in the Northeastern, or rather not the Northeastern, but the Eastern playoff bracket as maybe a battle for the top two. But there have been some kind of cataclysmic mistakes that both teams have kind of made throughout their run through the first two stages that maybe could lead to some vulnerabilities here, Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that their group that they're going into is looking like it's going to be a really tough group, right? They're going to be slotting this matches in Group G, and St. Clair just won their match as well to guarantee themselves a shot inside of that group. And St. Clair, you know what? A team that was a Tier 2 team, but very likely in any other group inside the Northeast Conference, probably could have been in a Tier 1 spot. So I think St. Clair definitely has a chance to make some waves in this pool. Whether they do or not probably relies on search and destroy gameplay for them. But yeah, outside of that, though, I'm right there with you. This match between Barry and High Point very likely will be a matchup for probably spot 1 and spot 2 in this group.
You would have to think that way. Let's just dig on it. We've got a full lobby, so we want to make sure we give the head-to-head as fast as we possibly can to make sure we get right on into the gameplay and kind of play a little bit of catch-up here. 16-3 to the 16-4 for Barry and High Point, respectively. But the biggest problem point here, and what I continue to talk about whenever I get a chance to cast over High Point, their objective game mode gameplay has been pretty poor when it comes to a Tier 1 team that finds itself still ranked in the top 25. Just 10-8 in search, and the biggest problem is 9-5 in control, Jesse, which I think may just be the linchpin for success or failure in this series for High Point.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just their overall records, right? That doesn't even go to show what they are just against other Tier 1 schools. And they're 5-7 in search and destroy against Tier 1 schools and 6-5 in control against Tier 1 schools. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Definitely not the best, and where they're really going to need to look to shine today up against Barry University, because Barry has been very, very good across the board. So they'll be in a spot where they're going to be looking to have a lot of success here tonight.
Yeah, the only major vulnerabilities for Barry came to the hands of Florida State, I would say, and a very surprising 0-3 loss to Concord. But we'll take a look at this Barry University roster really quickly, because there is a core 3 players that I think will largely steal the narrative away. Looking mostly at players like Grime and Indivent, they have been very solid in the last parts of the season. Gyro as well, also very good. And then for a time, I Apply Pressure was the 4th here for Barry, but Marskies has been kind of the go-to 4th for the last couple of weeks.
And Marskies has really been playing well, too, stepping up a lot in a lot of the screenshots that I was able to go back and look at. Honestly, constantly towards the top of the leaderboard, especially in the respawn. So definitely, I think they've found their 4th now in Marskies, and that's probably who they're going to rock with for the rest of the playoffs, with just kind of the success they were able to find towards the later half of Stage 2. So, I mean, it's definitely a good group of guys, and whoever the thing with this team is you don't really have that one big outstanding performer, but they all constantly step up when they need to.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting matchup, I think, just due to the fact that both teams, their sets of 4, have all been equally participating from the entirety of the season. So we'll take a look back over at High Point University, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't first and foremost talk about Sexton. He has been, by far, I would say, the vocal IGL leader, as well as one of the biggest kill leaders for this team. Not to take too much away, though, because Devilish, Freedom, and Brewing have also, just like we said about Barry, been very solid.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same story, just opposite team name, right? You got 3 players who are all very, very talented players, all stepping it up. But Sexton kind of is that guy for this team, like you were saying. He's constantly the player to step it up for High Point, constantly that player. If, hey, you know, you need somebody to go on a 7 spree in the middle of the game, get you that glide bomb, Sexton very likely will be that guy. But most of the time, just in the hard points, right? It's search and destroy and control where you really see this team start to fall off.
Very much so the case. It'll be interesting, because I think this is just you have to be improved in your search and control. That has to happen. So we'll see, because at the moment, as far as overall total top 25 rankings are concerned, the final top 25 of the year, Barry finished in 16th position, High Point finished in 18th, but I would consider there to be a pretty large gap between both of these two teams. So we'll see how things kind of unfold. I think in particular, I'm very curious to see what the map set's going to look like, just due to the simple fact that we have a very good hardpoint team in the form of High Point. They're really smooth on transition, very good in rotational moments. Their decision making is also very good, but this is what I was kind of worried about. Like, big open search and destroy in Berlin leads to susceptibilities, I think, just in flaws in your game plan because of how large the map can be. And if it gets all the way to 5, a Bocage search can catch you off guard in the blink of an eye. So I'll be curious to see what High Point has drawn up for at least the map 2, if not maybe also the map 5.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'm right there with you for a lot of those search and destroy points. I think the control is really going to be an important match in this as well. High Point, when you look at their overall records, basically outside of the match versus FGCU, they've lost every single series that they have lost to Control. And so if High Point come out, they can win the Control. I mean, statistics show that they can win the match, but also the fact of taking 2 hard points off of Barry, I think is going to be a little bit of a tough task as well to do. But you know what? That's probably the recipe to success, though, for these guys in this series. If they can come out and they can take both hard points and they can take the control, or yes, the control, that's probably their best chance at success against Barry University. But it's going to be a lot harder to happen. Shift, one other thing that kind of stood out to me just looking overall at that map count, and sorry, the series, is just the fact that the only map to be replayed in this from the last time these two teams played is this Tuscan Hardpoint, and it was a 250 to 243 for Barry University the last time they played.
Yeah, no, I like that you brought that up because it was a 3-0 map count, but yeah, there were some pretty close moments throughout the respawns. But I think here's the thing, all of the summary aside of everything we just said, the biggest takeaway point, getting into map number 1, must win for High Point. You have to win both of the hard points considering how vulnerable you are in the search and the control. So let's see exactly what High Point can bring forward, where Barry will be in the red and white, or pardon me, the red and yellow. High Point will be in their white and purple. Freedom, first blood through the middle of the map looking for a control. Really just through you connector, and it's going to work out pretty nicely. They keep Gyro at bay the whole way through, and it's going to be a full team ace on the opening breakoff for High Point.
That's a fantastic start. Exactly what High Point needs right off the rip of the game. Kind of unfavored spawns, but they get in right off the rip. They get the breakthrough middle of the map, and they still hold on to those spawns on the right-hand side, what they will be majorly focusing on, especially through the last 30 seconds of this hill. And you can already see Devilish is putting a ton of focus on the overextension possibly coming in through the command center.
Yeah, really good stuff here from High Point to contest that opening and still lock down. And as you mentioned, the long rotation that Barry sometimes likes to take. 15 seconds to fight for, though. Barry not wanting to give this up will successfully win the gunfights needed to lock down the capture of this scrap time. But the biggest question mark will be, can you get through the defensive setup of High Point around P2? And so far, Contest through Church will suggest that, yeah, maybe they could. They're going to get around the back. Spawns are still good for the Panthers, and they're trying to hold on to them as there's a two-way fight going on. You don't want to know what the other thing sounds like, but Barry will win the spawns and eventually overwhelm the Hard Point.
Yeah, that's a really, really good break for Barry, too, from the back. Just to be able to get inside of this hill and contest from the back with the fact that High Point was putting so much emphasis on trying to hold into the back, that's not how they want to walk away from this hill. And very likely at this point with the way that they're being spawned out, unless they're able to get a very good break in from the front, it's very likely going to be the back 30 seconds going the way of Barry. Although the High Point, they will spawn up in the back now, but it's actually it's just looking like what Barry wants to happen because now they can just get the easy rotation over towards P3.
But you're making the best out of a bad situation. You get a clean wipe over towards the scrap time of 2. It's going to give you some much needed time considering that your initial setup was completely foiled. And with that elimination onto Grime, an opportunity to actually gain rooftop spawns here if they can live through this next battle with Marskis. Good first pickup. Indivent trying to hold backside tiles, going to be chased down, and the red dot chase is successful. And how about it? Perfect rotation here for High Point. They get the spawns, and they clean up around the hard point to get the initial time.
Now Barry, it's pretty much time to break if you're Barry Bucs. You're going to spawn up on that top-hand side of the map, and this is the much harder way to try to break this hill. It's pretty much just brute force in from the front, needing to try to take out absolutely everybody, while also trying to make a push in through the bottom side of it. It's very successful as well. So if this is the type of hard point we're going to be getting where it's just break after break, we're going to be in for a very long match here.
Yeah, I will say as far as Barry's idea of get a break and then make sure you're not staying statuesque, it's working out very nicely for them as Indivent cleans out the back, respawns up, and takes his attention back forward to get 3. One more around the back of finesse play for Freedom. It will work initially for the opening kill, but a bit of a martyrdom situation as Indivent will still confirm the kill after falling. So, after 3 hills, it'll be a 93 to 46 potential tally as we head over to Church, which of course means High Point, they need to find at least 40 to 45 here on this very key 4th hill.
Absolutely, and what is this? The last 2 hills where High Point has pretty much won the rotations over towards the hills, but on first opportunity for Barry to break inside, they've been able to get the break very early on, and it's looking very similar here. 2 players go down immediately, and it's just Freedom left here inside of the hill will eventually fall. You do still hold onto some close spawns if you're High Point. It looks like they'll actually get a split spawn to come through, so now the hit's going to have to be more majorly from the front.
Well, around the back, there is still a play that could flip spawns, and it will. High Point looking to hold, but not able to live through the SMG gunfinds. Marskis just 9 and 7, but a lot of key kills on the hard point. And how about that? Zone's a little bit further outside for 4 in a row. The 5th is on the entrance. Oh, yep, absolutely. Sexton just got put 6 feet down. And an unbelievable 5 sprint from Marskis as he goes over a minute 15 of hill time.
It's a really, really good start to the game for Barry. I mean, you can pretty much hold High Point out and get a 100-point lead on them if you hold on to the majority of the time here in the command center going in towards our second set of rotations. So this is exactly how you want to start the game here for Barry. High Point will get a break, though, right off the rip into the command center, but this hill, not a very easy one to be able to hold on to and get a good majority of time, so they need to push out. They need to start zoning these Barry Bucs players off spawn now.
There's just no opportunity to. That's the problem. These SMGs need to lock down the hard point time, waiting for your ARs to get here. Individual gunfights are being won. Trades will continue to leave the contest into both teams as we go into the final kind of moments here of this kind of lingering gunfight brewing for a double. Able to get prone and get out of the line of sight of Freedom, who is right behind. That should be a double, but Freedom will actually allow Grime to live as he looks to zone back over towards Fire Alley. Gets absolutely smoked by Gyro. But the good news about the play forward is that it kills off and maybe creates a bit of a buffer here, as High Point should be good for the scrap, but as Brewing gets taken down, actually, Indivent will take a double, so Sexton also dropping means that the margin will stay at about 40 points. And with this rotation being contested, there is no clear winner of what's going to happen here in the initial time of P1.
I mean, it does look like Barry has a little bit more of a foot inside the hill at the moment, but yeah, I mean, High Point definitely has a very good opportunity to try to be able to break into this. If they use their numbers correctly, they just need to make sure they're not individually pushing into this hill, and that's exactly what happens. All three players individually push, and that's just Barry Bucs, once again, just they zone out so well on a lot of these hills, and it makes High Point so hard to be able to break inside of a lot of these, and Barry is going to be very comfortable with just holding on to this hill, and then making the late rotation over towards P2 once again, because they did it in the first set of rotations, and they broke it flawlessly.
Yeah, this is not looking good for High Point. Just losing so many individual gunfights, stopping potential breaks. I think more importantly, stopping a hold from being successful. Now Marski's 17 and 11 is going to put some influence towards the P2 spawns. One more member will spawn up. Actually, a second will be right there for the Panthers. But Brewing does not expect it with his spawn being so close. He doesn't anticipate that a challenger will be so nearby. And as Sexton will hold his ground, now you've got kind of points of ingress being threatened on multiple points if you're Barry. You've got players on patio, players around the back, gunfights being won at both places, and not good news again for High Point as they just can't seem to win a gunfight.
No, and that's, again, just through the backside. Barry does enough to be annoying, get the back spawns, and just set High Point off into a spot where they're not going to be comfortable holding on to this. High Point will make a battle back, though, through the backside. They get those close church spawns, but they're still losing out on a lot of these gunfights right now. Bruin and Freedom will combine for 3, so they do eventually get a break, but the back spawn's still looking good for Barry.
Choosing to send a couple players on rotation, though, the Buccaneers. 2 to finesse the old scrap time. The only contestant there would be Brewing. That's an easy kill for Indivent. He's been so good on these finesse moments. 1v2 over by P5. That one again by P2. It's a couple of others that we just didn't really get a chance to really tally on, but he's been good. That's really the point I'm trying to get at. And now as the rooftop spawns will be won by Barry, it's up to these last 2 High Point members to try to hold. And it's a good hold for now. One more contestant. Of course, it's Marski. Just slips through, turns that into a double. Is anyone going to trade this man? Grime off of the proximal respawns will take care of Marski's own trade, and High Point are still struggling to get into a hard point.
And I think that Barry is kind of showing us once again why Marski's was the right man to be their 4th here. Really, really popping off here in this game right now. I mean, 23 and 16, you cannot complain about that. There's still a scrap time, though, battle going on here as Bruin has stayed alive, and he's actually gotten the spawns down towards the bottom portion of the map here for High Point. But yeah, Barry is pretty much at a point right now where they can just give up this scrap time, not have to worry about it, and just get the full setup over at Church and try to put the game away here.
Yeah, this is going to turn into a very aggressive zone. Even Marski's wants to try to finesse for the scrap time again. Like, Barry is just threatening everything all the time. And that's something that I remember very vividly maybe saying word for word about High Point as recently as the last week in the regular season. So being beat at their own game right now, the Barry Bucs are all over this. And then in the back, Indivent just continuing to make problems occur. Opens up some safety for Grime up top. Trades coming through very efficiently. And, oh boy, it's just, oh, okay. Sexton's able to take down one. That'll work. This may be what they need to spark a bit of a comeback, because honestly, you need the last 40 seconds that are still remaining here.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot afford to give up any time at this point in the game, really, too, Barry. Any little bit of time that you give up will be Barry walking away. Sexton's trying to get it done with the beatdowns inside of the hill. And you know what? He gets enough damage where they can clean the gunfights up. They can still continue to hold on to this time. But the reinforcements, they need to be here early on. You need to get here quick so you're not just leaving Freedom by themselves and you're not giving free time back away to Barry. And even if you win out on this time, I mean, Barry's got the full rotation now over towards New.
Yeah, I was okay with Barry taking the rotation because Sexton was on 5, and you just needed him to get streaks. Because it allows you a chance to fully fight through all 60 seconds of P5 and then streak for P1, but that tool was not earned. And as you had mentioned, Barry in very solid control of P5. Do they read the spawns? Grimes seems to have an idea. Stun will give a lot of this play away. He'll toss a desperate last-second nade. It will not connect, but Gyro still takes good on the first 2. Indivent there to follow up with the 3rd and the 4th. And Barry's going to take map number 1. And it looks like it very well may just be on this moment right here. High Point cannot get there to touch. A must-win map for High Point. Honestly, just didn't ever really feel close outside of maybe the first 2 hills.
Yeah, that was, it was kind of just like one of those games where never at any point did I feel like High Point had a solid hold on any one of those hills. I think that their best hold shift honestly came from that last P4 hill inside a church, probably where they got their most amount of time inside of that entire game.
Yeah.
They just never had a comfortable hold. They never had a comfortable full 60 where they were able to just completely zone out Barry. Just too much aggressiveness, too many gunfights lost, and honestly just could not have an answer to Marsky's turning up for Barry through a lot of that game.
2 big points for me. Marsky's number 1. On breaks, on holds, unbelievable. But Indivent was unbelievable playing for scrap time. Just finessing, playing with another person, sometimes doing up to hit that last 20 seconds, sometimes just doing it by himself. That time matters at the end of it. And when we see the stat screen, I would be willing to wager that at least 75% of his hardpoint time came in the scrap 20 seconds. He was that good in either holding down and locking down a full 60 or going back to a hill to finesse for either a contest or just a flat-out win of the majority of that last 20 seconds. Unbelievable stuff. And for Barry, that bodes very well for you in the overall series. Especially if you've got, again, just good team control from top to bottom. Everybody was participating. Almost all 4 members here, Jesse, were in the hill for a minute plus. Come on.
And that's the thing with this Barry Bucs roster, right? We were talking about it when we did the team intros. This team is just a very good team top to bottom, right? They all play very well together. And you always have those moments with this team where just one player at any point in time can step up to the plate and go off when they need to. And it was Marsky's and Indivent, like you were calling out, through a lot of this game. Indivent actually did end up outslaying him by the end of it. And look at that, only 4 points of damage between the two of them in terms of their total overall damage on the map. Just really, really showing just how good of a duo they were playing. And what them also playing as well as they did ends up doing is it really does a great answer for Sexton and Devilish, who are normally 2 very high slaying players on that High Point roster. 21 and 26, 17 and 23. Really got compromised by Marsky's and Indivent going off as much as they did in that map 1.
Unbelievable. But this bodes very poorly for High Point. That was a must-win map in my mind.
Yeah.
So now you've got to find a way to win, well, at least 1 search, and you have to win the control. Plus, of course, you have to win the map 4. I don't love the probability percentages of that happening, just based off of some of just like the lack of, I don't even know how to put a thumb on it, but it's like the lack of just mid-round adjustments that I think High Point will put together a initial idea for what they want to do at the beginning of a round, and when it starts to go poorly or goes wrong, there doesn't seem to be a backup plan. There doesn't seem to be a bailout or exit strategy. So that has to be better, and you have to show me early in this search and destroy that it is better.
And to that point, I really feel like looking at that series, I feel like it's probably going to have to be a reverse sweep for High Point if they are going to win it from this point on. Because I feel like a Bacage might give you a little bit better of an opportunity to be able to win out than a Berlin. Because Berlin, there are so many head games that you can play with your opponents in terms of both bomb sites being very viable. When you go and you look at a map like Bacage, that's a very much so a map where it's just like, hey, we're going towards the A site and we're going to try to just brute force our way into there and try to win out as many gunfights. And maybe that could be High Point's game a little bit more than it could be Barry's on a map like that. But I don't see, I just cannot see a way where High Point come out inside of this Berlin search and destroy, unless they come out with some remarkable strategies and, like you said, have a plan for what they're going to do. I cannot see a way where they really come out and they take Barry on a Berlin search and destroy. It's just, they're too good.
It has to be improvements, and here's the marker that we can kind of give ourselves. It has to be improvements after the first blood engagement. Whether you've won that or you've lost it, I don't care, but it has to be after the first blood engagement. And I think the biggest lens we always take as commentators is from the offensive perspective in particular, just because search and destroy typically favors the defense in some regard. So can you create problems for Barry that they have to deal with? That's kind of maybe the biggest quote narrative that we could go off of. Can High Point create problems that Barry have to deal with? Because typically speaking, when we've seen High Point play Surge against other top tier 1 teams, it's been the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that as well, just maybe try to make them as uncomfortable as possible. Just do some weird things on the map. Maybe you can catch Barry off guard a few times here or there, but you can't keep that going for the entire game because eventually they will start to expect that type of play coming out of your team. But High Point off the start of the game, it looks like they want to make a very quick play in through middle of the map into the mail room. And Devilish pushed up as far as he is with the bomb. Looks like he wants to try to move this over towards B, and with Sexton finding that nade, they should have an opening.
Sexton very wisely is able to get away, creates an opening for Devilish to get towards the bomb site. And Brewing over the top provides some great help for a double. Okay. Opening setup offensively brilliant, by the way, as far as how this is concerned for High Point. So it leaves Gyro for what we need to be 1v4, no chance. And yeah, it's just good mailroom control, good support, not only from the player sitting deep at warehouse, but also throwing another AR into the middle of the map to keep your top side safe. That's just a really good setup from High Point.
That was a very, very strong setup. And I mean, the first blood that Sexton gets and gets away with his life because of it being an aid makes it absolutely massive as well. You just get even more numbers. And honestly, I thought that setup was going to fall apart at the seams when the player on, I think it was Devilish on High Point that was pushing in through middle of the map. It looked like he had a line to get in and get behind the players. But they are sorry, I thought that Marskis was going to be able to make a play, but it was Brewing who was able to pop the 2, sitting in the back of warehouse and stop it from happening, stop that flank play from fully coming through. And it looks like Barry wants to make a very similar push out towards the B side as well.
It's similar yet different because this focus is all towards controlling dockside. But have they seen Sexton sneak up towards B? That's the question. The first blood on Devilish was a great one to find. It makes the dock safe, but I believe Sexton has snuck forward. And sitting on the other side of the shutters, he's going to have some problems to deal with here because Barry is not backing away from this. Oh, he's got a sniper rifle. That makes things even more difficult. So 3v4, tough retake in front of us.
Yeah, and like you said, even harder with a sniper in hand, and you can see exactly why. Unless you're going to 360 no-scope somebody right off the rip, it's definitely not going to be the easiest situation to be in, and now you're just going to leave Freedom all alone. 1 versus 4, 20 seconds left. This is pretty much an unwinnable situation.
Yeah. It's peculiar that Sexton would even try to bother pushing up that far. I mean, I get it. You lose your AR player in Devilish that's trying to watch that cross off the rip because Imidivin just gets a couple of set nades and shots to kind of capitalize and follow up off of his own pre-nade. But interesting as far as that defensive rotation is concerned.
I mean, maybe at that point you just fly at them, fly inside the site with the pistol and try to do what you can in that spot. Maybe stop the bomb from going down. But if you're going to make a play like that with a sniper, it needs to be a little bit quicker than that, and it needs to probably be with the pistol. Otherwise, you just need to sit in the back and try to get a pick with the sniper and even the numbers out yourself. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Not a big fan of the push up into there, but right off the rip inside of this round, High Point once again just going to completely take mailroom control. But it looks like Barry is going to get a lot more aggressive on their defense this time, and it's working out well.
Yeah, it's aggressive through the flank. This is a copy-paste setup for High Point, by the way. Exactly the same routes, exactly the same setups that they had in round number 1. Oh, Marskis, that's bold. They did have help, though. Indivent from the dockside was watching him the entire way, so the trade is confirmed. We go to a 2v2, and Gyro did not see Sexton cross through the windows. Eyes must have been elsewhere, unless he got a call from a teammate. That set nade does not actually connect in the gap of the apartment complex. So now it's just down to who sees who first, and that why?
Yeah, I'm right there. I don't understand the push, and now Bruin's going to fly out. Will get the window. That's a huge one-on-one. I don't know how you expect that player there, but the snap was on. You get the kill, but that bomb is down in a absolutely awful spot right now that he needs to wrap back and try to pick up.
But will Gyro recognize the bomb being dropped to possibly contest? Obviously, the answer will be a no. But Gyro's coming around the backside. Brewing is maybe expecting this. Not the case, but only a couple of shots will tag. Now the 1v1 could still occur. Brewing going to commit for the plant, though. Going to try to extend the timer on this 1v1 by 40. And be able to do it, and then take the shots over the heady. That was not an angle he was holding first. And that will work. 2-0. Pretty 2-1 rather, the score, and 2 good offenses is what I meant to say there for High Point.
I mean, I don't even know if I can call that a good offense. I think that's just a bold strategy coming in from Brewing at the end there to not commit to taking a gunfight, to instead, hey, you know what, I got tagged up. No way he expects me to put the bomb down, and he didn't. Puts the bomb down, hops back up, and gets a huge win inside of that round. I mean, I absolutely have no idea their shift.
So now we'll get Barry's first look over towards the A site. Aggressive defense or high point, trying to get in towards Mail. Brewing up top is worried about the middle of the map. This means that, of course, Freedom is by himself. And he's just looking to play a 1-for-1 in this corner. Will pop up as soon as the bomb is planted. Indivent will see his back, but that will actually be fine because Freedom still gets what's required. The first opening kill on the exit. Big 1v1 possibly on the flank here as Devilish is going to be tested by Marskis in some regard, or so you would think. High Point's waiting for this flank, and the thing about this is it may still work out because Barry's not aware of it, but Indivent just single-handedly takes the round into his hands, cleans out the front, and now it's down to Devilish for a 1v3. Not a lot of time to make this play happen, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen at all. Although he does win the second, there is not going to be enough time for him to get back up to the bomb, nor will he have any idea where Marskis is positioned.
Yeah, just no time inside of the round, and that's just a really good round, like you said, out of Indivent. And Shift, the one thing that I'm noticing between these two rounds from offense, from High Point and from Barry, is that High Point had a pretty much copy-paste round through their first two rounds. Barry do two very different things inside of their two rounds. First round, they go out towards B. They get the job done there. Second round, they go over towards the A site. They pretty much overwhelm at A, get the bomb down, and get the job done there as well. So it just kind of opens up more opportunities, more mind games that Barry can play. Whereas High Point, so far, they have pretty much shown, hey, we've got one play. It's to go over towards B, and if you stop it, you stop it. If you don't, maybe we'll find a way to close at the round, but it's looking like it's a little bit harder. And once again, it's looking very copy-paste. You're going to have two players run straight into the mailroom, have another player set up in the back and brewing, and they're just going to try to brute force their way onto the B site once again.
This time, though, the players of the Barry Bucs defensively towards Docs will not be caught out by nades. May not make a difference, though. Sexton, some help from Freedom. They will double up for first blood. Still threatening this mid-map position, though, is Marskis, waiting for a time maybe to jump. The bomb is not committed this time. So, honestly, defensively, you have to look number 5. He has to be able to read this. Otherwise, you're playing retake at A. Almost guaranteed.
And with the wrap back from player 5 as well, it's looking like you're going to have to play that retake from A almost immediately, unless Marskis can stop this bomb from going down.
Well, he's able to get the first. That will actually put a bit of a stall into High Point. Gyro able to get over towards the flank. Does he check over towards the left? Yeah, finds Brewing. Good elimination there, and High Point has maybe gotten a little bit stuck. Nade cooked. That'll be the end of Freedom. And Devilish now would have to 1v3. Does have the bomb to work with. Maybe an opportunity to run, and I mean run, quickly back to B to get a plant off. But this would be a very hard-pressed 1v3 even with this plant.
Yeah, it's definitely not looking good. Bombs should be able to go down here. I don't believe Indivent spotted them on the cross either, but with no presence over at A and you have players there, you should have some sort of idea that this bomb is moving over towards B. And yeah, Devilish, this is a bold strategy right here, Shift, to just sit in the corner and now just wait for the Barry players to push.
Yeah, once they clear warehouse, they know Docs is open. This is just going to be a triple, double, triple hit, double, triple, quadruple hit in towards B. Yeah, there's just nowhere to hide there. It's tough. That's, again, 1v3 with an SMG. You did well to get the bomb planted, but yeah, you have to play outside the bomb site. You have to try to isolate. There's no way you play a 1-for-1 corner in a 1v3 and successfully pull that off against a team like Barry.
Yeah, and you know what? Overall, on the round, I like the idea from High Point to find that opening kill and then slowly work your way. You know that player that you killed was the player that most of the time has made their way from the A site, so they make their way over there, but it was just too slowly executed. High Point, if you're going to make a play like that where you wrap from one site to the other, it needs to be quicker so that Barry can't catch you on your way over, and Marskis just got there in just the nick of time, and as soon as he finds the first, it pretty much just puts the entire halt to that High Point plan of wrapping bomb sites, and now Barry Bucs on their offense, it looks like a very quick hit coming over towards A. Marskis has the sniper out as well, so you would imagine they have some sort of idea on the players who are here trying to watch this from the High Point side of things.
Bold, quick plant coming through for Barry, but they're going to pull it off, no problem. First blood onto Freedom. Devilish cannot contest this. You have to wait for help. And how about it? He actually gets onto the window ledge, finds the immediate trade, so 3v3 we go. Indivent reveals his position, and in the same breath, so will Grime. But the problem with this is, can you really rely on Sexton to do everything from this flank position? And the answer will be a no. So it's up to Brewing, 1v2. Gets caught, gun up in the air, not where you want it. And Barry will string together, what was that, 2 rounds in a row here to get us, 3 rounds in a row actually, to get us to 4-2.
Yeah, and with offense kind of being the more favored thing from what we're seeing on this map at the moment, especially like lately in terms of the meta, it just feels like once you're able to get that first defensive win, unless the other team can answer back with a big defensive win of their own, this should realistically be Barry's map to close out from this point on. But High Point, you never know. They could still end up coming out trying to get another defensive round win in the books for themselves here, but it's just not going to be easy with the way that Barry has been playing in a lot of their offenses. It's been quick, decisive hits, bombs go down, and then there's just no answer back from High Point.
So Indivin on 4, not really giving us the influence that he's going to be playing for this streak with how far forward he's playing. Now, granted, he's got help. He'll get information from Gyro watching the cross. And how about the long play from Marskies? Freedom has not seen this. Brewing is not in a position to watch this flank timing-wise either. So the quick play for Marskies will result in first blood. Immediate trade, though. It's good news for the side of High Point. Not getting completely strewn about with this opening offensive look, but you just don't have a lot of ground to work with towards B, which it looks like they do want to try to commit to, at least for now.
The bomb might start to move out here, but again, this is going to rely on a lot of timing here and not being caught through middle of the map. This is very similar to what happened in the last round, but because Sexton's up top here of this top third building, he can at least get some sort of read on where the other players are coming from Barry. But again, it's just too slow of a wrap. They take way too long with it, and now you can already see the Barry players are starting to make the wrap over, and Gyro should be able to spot this out.
Well, Devilish is able to successfully get to the bomb site. Grime working on a pinch. Around the back, he does stop the bomb from being planted. Oh boy, it's all gone wrong for High Point, and Brewing not sure where to go. Gets doubled up. Last player, deep topside plat, not going to be able to do much from the train station. And it's just, if you're going to get that kill on the flank and then not immediately call the push into A, you're going in blind. And I feel like that little bit of hesitation is more massive than the words that I'm saying could give you influence to.
Yeah.
I think that rotation was maybe 15 seconds too slow.
Yeah, exactly. And you're 100% right. They got the big kill, the big trade on the flank. And very often when the team is flanking like that, and you also have information on the players by the dock side, you should know that there's very likely only one player on that flank and that you should have a pretty fast opening in through train to get towards where you need to go with that bomb. But I think your point from before the map is just coming through even more, where just High Point's just not decisive with the bomb, and they just don't seem to know what they want to do after things fall apart in their setup.
You want to talk about decision-making and decisiveness. How about this play? I think maybe everybody went SMGs. Yeah, it looks that way. Just full flooded right down the middle, cut through secret, cut into fire. Get the first blood and get the plant off, no problem. Yeah, this is just not good news. Sexton for 1v3, trying to save the search and destroy. And
it's a sniper again.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah, just never exactly what you want in a 1 versus 3 situation. Does get information on Indivin, but this is going to require a pistol win. And even more, and it won't even get the pistol win. It's just a tough situation, and then add even harder once you get the sniper on top of it, and that's just the round, and actually the game as well for Barry. They close it out completely there, and I'm just not surprised. Shift. This is exactly how I saw this series going.
Yeah, Indivin 12-3. I mean, through 8 rounds, unreal. I will say this, for High Point, I'll just say it how it is. That set play that we saw towards B in the opening, good stuff. I loved it. Double hit into mail. One player watches the mid cross. One player watches deep. Close all the doors around you to make sure you hear sound cues as one's hitting the flank. I get it. I like it. It's fine. It works. You got to have more than that if you're going to beat teams that are ranked above you. Yeah, well, 3 or 4 in a row. And obviously the 4th one, when they got the kill off the long flank, they didn't do too much with it. So that's what I kind of mean is, like, what do you do after the first blood engagements? Because honestly, as good as Barry was cleaning up the rounds that they lost first bloods, it just felt like that was mostly due to cause because High Point just wasn't really adjusting the ways that they needed to.
And the big thing too is, like, I know I said 4 in a row, but when I said 4 in a row, I more so meant it's the same initial break-off strategy 4 rounds in a row for Barry. Or sorry, for High Point, where they just basically send the 2 players into mail, have one player sitting back warehouse, and another player is kind of off roaming, watching the flank for the most part. And like you said, it worked in the first round. Almost worked for them in the second round as well. They ended up winning off a big 1-on-2 at the very end of the round. But, I mean, the last 2 rounds, it's the same break-off, and then they just tried to rotate over towards A, and it was just way too slow of a rotation. So it still does not work. The same similar play here. And we can take a look at the stats overall, and I mean, again, it's just a very well-rounded effort from Barry. Yes, you had Indivin, who had a very good map, but Marski's, again, the player who has kind of been that fourth this year, just kind of more so lately been filling in. 7-3, again, another very good map. So Marski's absolutely kind of showing why he's the right choice for Barry's fourth right now, I think.
Yeah, I think this team, for what it's worth, by the way, when I saw the rankings, I thought they were much better than number 16. I know that there's been a couple of slips. I think you look at that 3-0 versus Concord and you say, well, what the heck, Barry? But I think that was more of Barry having a bad day than it was necessarily a true indication of like how good or slash bad this team is. I think they're a great team. I think they're going to have a lot of potential built for them because they show a lot of variety. And now going into a map 3 control where they have been fantastic, by the way, you start to think about this team on Respawn all of a sudden kind of growing in overall strength because their hard point, they were making all the right decisions. They were winning the war on multiple fronts. And if that mantra continues into a map 3 control on both sides of the control zone, defensive or attacking, that's going to create a lot of issues for High Point. That those adjustments that we're not seeing in Search, as much as it's not a 1-for-1, those lack of decision-making moments, that can punish you immediately from being able to salvage rounds, whether that be on the offensive or defensive side.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to Tuscan as well, which is another one of those maps where if you're not being very decisive right off the bat, you can really kind of allude to losing a lot of time on offense or on defense in terms of just stopping a tick progression from going down or allowing multiple ticks over at the B site because Barry overwhelms you right off the rip or comes off spawn and they overwhelm you by, instead of just full sending and hitting towards A again, they send 3 players over towards B, and that's an instant tick because you just don't react fast enough. High Point, I think their biggest issue is they need to be a little bit more kind of proactive and not just reactive to a lot of the situations that happen. And kind of playing reactive is great if you've got the gun skill to just be able to react to absolutely everything, but you're going up against a very good team in Barry who just has the same, if not better, gun skill than you can react to a lot of the same situations. Last time they played as well, these two teams did go to a 3-0 for Barry. And the first 2 maps were a lot closer. It was really the control that was the big difference for Barry. So, I mean, what confidence could you even really go into with this last map as High Point, knowing you've already lost to these guys, and now you're getting beat worse in the first 2 maps than you did the last time. So, it's one of those spots.
Well, we'll let you marinate on that as we head to our halftime break. We'll come back with a Tuscan control right after this. Welcome back, everybody. This is a playoff group stage match between Barry and High Point, and so far, it's been all Barry. Very convincing in the opening hard point, which was not good news for High Point overall, and then the Search and Destroy, arguably more convincing as we consider the Map 3 Tuscan control, a mode in particular that High Point has been struggling with against other top-tier teams. And that's, again, just not overall great news. We both came into this matchup saying that High Point would have needed to win both of the hard points and steal a Search somewhere. The fact that they've missed out on both the opening hard point and Search, Jesse, is not good news going into this control Tuscan.
Yeah, not good at all. And the last time these two teams played, they played on Gavutu control. It was a 3-1 victory for Barry, so Barry was able to get an offensive win inside of there somewhere you would imagine in a 3-1 victory. So going into this one, for High Point, at least you go to Tuscan, where it's a little bit harder to get those offensive victories, I think, sometimes through. So maybe you have that kind of last little bit for yourself there, where if you can maybe out-tick Barry on your offenses and get that final defense, there's a shot to be able to take this control. But, I mean, outside of that, I don't really see a way where High Point's going to win an offense unless maybe they outslay Barry as well, which by how the series has gone so far, can't really see a way where that happens either. So High Point, it's going to need to probably come off of tick progression and need to be really, really solid with a lot of that.
Need to make sure, I think, first and foremost, your defense is good at stopping the aggressive plays that we're likely going to see from Marski's and Indivin. I think that they have been in takeover mode, really, throughout both the first 2 maps, and individual gunfights have been problematic for High Point, I would say, in both of the first 2 maps that we've had. That cannot be the case here going into 3. And for what it's worth, you know, you were saying at the top of this matchup, and we'll have some time to kind of recap and consider, but St. Clair is the other confirmed team in this group. The 4th team will be actually determined by our final series tonight between Stockton and NJIT. But I will say, I mean, High Point, they've lived and died off of just their hard point alone. And as much as I can credit them for having a different and kind of a cool look on their opening offense, it wasn't in-depth enough. So that question will remain here. And if we don't get a better answer, I don't know. I start to worry about High Point, I think, into their future of this group here, Jesse.
Yeah, that's something I was really worried about as soon as I saw St. Clair win that matchup earlier on today against Farmingdale. I think that St. Clair has a chance to make some waves inside of this group. They are ranked in the top 25. They're one of the only Tier 2 schools, if not the only Tier 2 school, to be ranked inside of the top 25. And St. Clair is a notoriously very good hardpoint team. So if High Point can't win anything but hardpoints, St. Clair very likely has an opportunity to win a hardpoint against them as well. So we'll just have to see here. Maybe High Point can make their way back into this series. But right off the rip, it's been a pretty decent break off over here so far for Barry, and already a tick of progress onto A.
A little bit of blind fire going up top to fire overall, as there was at least some contests from the Panthers through the middle of the map, but a lot of that was negated, and Freedom just tried to run into a 1v question mark. Man, those moments like that is where you can feel the frustration starting to settle in. You're kind of like forcing engagement, and that's never good when you're playing up against a team that is as solid as Barry is. And oh boy, mid-map 1, topside church 1, and only 5 lives lost as Barry have an opportunity to get onto B quickly.
Yeah, and Indivent will be that first player to be able to slide through, get onto the B zone. But this is a good answer back, at least from High Point. They wrap back to their spawn. They're able to at least clear out the spawn. And now they can look to push forward and now stop these Barry Buck players from being able to push forward. And they've very largely brought this kind of life lead back to even now as well. So this is a good answer back, but now they're going to have to hold on for a minute 45, though, from Barry being able to break in. So it's good, but it's not great yet.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to get at, too. I was about to say for a second here, there are way too many people dying for High Point with both nades still in their hands. Like, you have to start using utility if you want to take these positions away. Fortunately, the gunfights will come through. Barry, still with church control, though, is always going to put High Point under threat. And Freedom very well want to contest this. Difficult prospects in front of him, though, as Indivent has worked his way around. Brewing will scout this, though, so the hunt is on. Indivent's way out of dodge, though. My goodness, he has gotten on there so quickly. But Sexton, meanwhile, with a double over to the front side of patio, will make sure the defense at least has some stable ground to work with.
Big answer back here for High Point would be not only winning this round out on defense, but not allowing Barry to get any more ticks of progression here. Because that's the big highlight point that I was bringing coming into this one, is that if you're going to get that final defense, it's very likely going to be off. Just getting those tick progressions and not allowing Barry to get as many as possible here. You've already allowed 3. To allow another one at B would hurt pretty significantly here inside of this round. So this is a really good answer back, though. Only 15 to 11 in terms of life. Barry do have a little bit of an opening now through platform where they can start to make their way in, and everybody off High Point's going to come off spawn. Nades are going to have to be really good here.
Yeah, Sexton had a great start for what it was worth, by the way. 6 in a row, just cut short of potentially getting a glide bomb. But regardless of the extra streak, the defense still looking pretty darn solid. A lot of it because of Sexton. 11 and 2, 3 in a row this life. Putting together really the only major defensive pressions that we've seen from High Point. 4 in a row now for Sexton. Absolutely gunning. And maybe that's the inspiration that the Panthers will need to get back into this series, because really outside of Sexton, everyone else is just kind of here hanging out. And yeah, that's going to continue to be the case. Sexton on another large spree. He will finish the defense on 14 kills and a 6 spree.
Yeah, this could be really big if Sexton can carry that 6 spree now into this next offense here for High Point. If you can find that 7 spree and you can get that glide bomb, much easier to be able to break onto that zone and give yourself an opening into B with a glide bomb in your hand as well. So we'll just have to see if Sexton can find it right off the start of this round. But 14-2, I mean, you could not have asked for a better first round out of the kid to start the round off here. And it's going to be a 3-man push over towards B. Hopefully somebody baits here for Sexton.
That's what they're trying to set up. Marskis gets the double, not the third. Now the trigger got a piece of Sex, couldn't get the whole thing. So the streak has been earned. And Sexton's not done. 8 in a row, 16 and 2. Number 9 around the corner, but Grime will respond to it in due course. And for what it's worth, High Point don't get anything off of that play besides the streaks. They're down 5 lives, they're down 30 seconds, and they haven't even seen either of the 2 zones yet.
Or at least you do have Freedom trying to make a big flank in from behind here. And High Point's not in a terrible spot here now. They're able to get on to A. They do stop the flank coming in from behind as well. So this is a good chance now to just finish off this A point. You've got your mid cut off here. And honestly, if you're Barry, you might even just have to concede this here.
Well, you got to just concede any gunfight you're finding versus Sexton at the moment. Every single life he has put together, I think, at least 4. 20 and 4 so far, and we're only halfway through the second round of this control. And Barry now starting to be threatened along the back. Marski is good for the opening, but very quickly realizes that there were very much so more Panthers to deal with. Grime able to pick that up, though, making sure the back stays safe. Threat now from the front. Freedom on a bit of a spree of his own. That's 5 in a row for him. Opportunity for maybe more streaks to come into play as Sexton's working this with him, and that might be enough, honestly. These two together are pretty much been the entire force of the Panther defense and offense so far, but Freedom will get cut down. No streaks for him, but 1 tick of progress will be locked in with still 18 lives to play with.
And now we'll just have to wait to see if they decide to use that streak here to try to break their way through. They do have a 5-life lead here as well, so they can kind of just try to brute force their way in. You've got a minute 17 basically to try to find these last 12 lives if you don't want to do it off tick progression alone here. And honestly, if High Point was going to win any offensive round right now, this is probably your best shot at winning an offensive round.
You still have some moments to play with here to try to save the streak and set something up with just your numbers. But those are not good gunfights. Marski's and Indivind able to find 2. Gyro watching over the top will take the 3rd, and then you're going to chase down the 4th. Grime losing track of Brewing. Means that he will stay alive, but Marski's will make sure that he is confirming the 4-man death. So now 12v10, 3-man hit from the top side. Grime is here waiting for it, and my goodness, a snap on to Freedom, but couldn't finish the kill. Marski's looking to make sure that churches continue to be contested, but doesn't want to give up too many more lives at this point, so will back away, find himself a little bit of help from Grime, and they will combine for a kill as High Point will kind of more desperately have to make a hit, and they're going to do it through Church Alley to get the beat.
Yeah, now with only 30 seconds left, too. I mean, I would love to see High Point just group up and try to hit this together, try to play off the backs of each other here, because you still do have time to make one solid team push as a full group here, but it's another little bit of an individual push right off the rip. Brewing and Devilish will both fall, and it's just not what you want. You need to group up if you're going to hit into B together.
Yeah, this has all gone wrong. Sexton around the back is not going to be able to touch. He's just playing for kills at this point. And he will finish the round with 22 kills. But Barry will still confirm the defense. And I don't mind them not using the streak there. I think that with your positioning, your 4-man stack, and a life lead, might be worth trying to break it just by sheer numbers. And then you still have it for your second offensive round, which could be key and could be your win condition. So I'm fine with them not using it. I think there were opportunities to confirm the offense, but largely I think it goes unpunished.
I think that the only kind of gripe I have with not using it, though, is that if you could have kind of steamrolled your way through there and just 3-0'd inside of this, would have given you a lot of momentum going in towards the back half of the series. But yeah, I'm right there with you. You still have an opportunity where you can use it later on if need be. A few gunfights will go down right off the start of this round, and Marski's is very quickly able to get on to B, but will get cleaned up. And now High Point, it basically is just copy and paste from last round. Just need to fly out and need to keep shutting down Barry off of spawn here.
Yeah, risky play there for Barry that doesn't really amount to too much. You kind of throw away, I say throw away, you kind of give away 4 lives there, trying to make something cute happen. Not going to work out. First tick of progress, still be locked in at 8. Deep spawn for Individ down low, actually. Hold on a second. He can get to B and actually make High Point have to consider this, especially if he can win the gunfight versus Devilish, but got caught trying to swap between weapons. Brewing behind Gyro will be able to confirm the assist and the kill, no problem. So with that, High Point defensively is looking solid, and all of a sudden Barry looks very scattered. These down south spawns are making them feel forced to hit B, and there's really not a lot of opening for them to hit this. Even with 2 players that are in the area, you would have to do a lot more to even start to see significant progress at B.
Well, they do find a few kills, though, so there's actually that kind of opens up an opportunity to hit into B now. At the very least, it's going to turn the arrows from High Point around. You will get 1 tick of progression, and now the other 2 players, as they come off spawn, will just wrap over towards A and start getting the ticks of progression up there as well. And Grime staying alive here is just being annoying as long as humanly possible. And this should be the A zone completely finished at this point as well.
15 lives, though, for Barry, as they will get to about 2 minutes on the clock. And they're not going to know where the defense is pushed forward into. Well, Sexton will reveal his position, no problem. And, oh boy. More doubles and kill feeds favoring Sexton. 26 and 14. Still only halfway through the 5th round. He's putting on some unbelievable numbers. But Barry will kind of get a feel as far as where the defense is set up and decide, all right, we got to go ahead and clear P5. So it's up to Freedom on 6. He needs to find an opening here, and oh boy. A little slide through allows Marski's the easy trade, and there will be no second glide bomb earned.
No, and this is where you have an opportunity to try to fly forward. I thought if you were Barry, but Sexton again combines for 2. And I feel like you're absolutely correct, Shift. Every time he has gotten a kill in this game, it has been a 2-piece, it feels like, at the very least. And every life is amounting to just so much success from Sexton inside of this map at the moment, and I mean, they're just turning it up now. Barry, only 7 lives left. You probably have 1 solid shot at trying to break into this, because you just need to find kills and find your second wave off of them.
Oh boy. That's a big double, though, for Gyro. Kazmarski's is pitching from behind. This will lead to an opportunity to stack. Does Sexton pull the streak out here to try to save this defense? That would be key for Barry, even if they don't necessarily win this offensive round. But the play's going to come backside of column. Freedom and Sexton will clear a bit of pressure and get on to contest. And there's the team wipe and only 2 lives. Oh, boy, Barry came really close to sneaking away an offensive round.
And that was the one solid shot that they've had, right? And you don't end up walking away with it here. But what's really big for Barry there, though, Shift, is that you do get the 5 ticks of progression at the very least inside of that. In the first round for High Point, they were only able to get 4. So Barry now has those 8 confirmed ticks. So if High Point wants to get the final offense, they're either going to, have to win this game here, or sorry, High Point, if they want to get the final offense. They're either going to need to win the game here or get 5 ticks of progression themselves to guarantee it. Otherwise, we'll go down to kills.
Yeah, I mean, this has to be High Point trying to win the game right here on round 4. Has to be. With your streak, if you get... I think here's the thing. You cannot force this streak to create an opening. It has to be there to take you over the finish line. You have to find success first and foremost before you can consider dropping in this streak. Otherwise, you wait to use it in round 5. That's my evaluation on it, at least. So I'll be really interested to see if High Point will understand that, because you cannot just force a streak in and say that that's going to be what gets us B. Like, that is not going to individually be enough. Good start from Sexton to clear out the middle of the map. Set Nate over the top will also take care of Grime. So that'll at least confirm 1 tick of progress, if not maybe a second. Decisions have to be made here for Barry as far as do they recontest this, and if so, how?
And it doesn't look like right now like they really want to. They're very, very slow. Maybe Indivent might try to fly out here, but it's a 1v4 at that time. And yeah, it's not going to amount to very much. This should be the A zone completely finished here. Grime will take 1 last shot at it, but it will be finished. And now it's just all about that push over towards B. And I'm right there with you, Shift. If High Point is going to use the streak, it needs to be used not to find the opening, but to find a way to pull the other Barry Bucs players as they come off spawn, just to give you that last little bit of a tick that you need. I'm right there with you.
So we'll see what happens. Big 1v1 for Grime. Keeps the high ground safe. I was about to say Church is under threat. And High Point, if they could win this 1v1 over towards the high ground of Patio, that may be the opening to start hitting up the potential for a streak to come in and get yourself some control around B, but not to be. 21-23 the live, still favoring High Point. Plenty of time on the clock. No need to rush anything here if you're the Panthers, and it looks like they will be very aware of that. Set nades over towards the back. Those should not connect with too much of anything, as all of the Barry Buck defenders are playing forward, and yeah, that indeed is the case. Marski's for an opening. Brewing traded. And there are still more Buccaneers nearby. So even though High Point are trying to finesse some of these 1v1s, largely the defense is going to win these moments.
High Point yet to find an opening to really get a chance to be able to get inside of this zone. And everybody on Barry with their positioning will just keep spawning up in that close spawn. I mean, at some point, High Point might choose to invest the streak here just to try to find an opening here, but it's not probably what's going to lead to success for winning towards a round victory here.
Here comes the next setup for High Point. It's all from the high ground. Good opening eliminations, but Grime and Gyro respond back and immediately put a halt to any play for the Panthers. And now a long route for Indy around the back. Oh boy, this could spell disaster for High Point. Marski's playing forward. Gets a look at Freedom, which Gyro's happy for the information on. And now here comes the play from Indivent number 2 in red. And he's going to absolutely destroy the back line. Marski's up top will be bested, and Devilish keeps the play alive. Would love to see him play for the regen, and he will. Also waiting for a little bit of help, but Indivent still playing around the back, and High Point aren't even worried about looking for him. Ooh, this is a difficult call here for the Panthers. They're going to try to just force their way forward. And by forward, I mean around the back. Marski's is here waiting for it, knows he's under an imminent threat, and he will give that call out to his teammates. Gyro now from the backside of Truck. Nades flushing him backwards. Grime trying to assist at all possible, and Grime gets a double. One more player around the corner is Sexton, and Marski's will find him. And High Point, they will save the streak, but they will come up pretty short of finding any progress at B.
Yeah, and the big thing about them not finding progress there is they'll lose out in the total tick progression to the likes of Barry. Barry was able to get those 5 ticks in the last round, put them just over that edge. They'll be up 8-7 here, guaranteeing the final defense to Barry. So now we're pretty much plug and replace everything that we just said in the last round shift back here into round number 5, as High Point will be back on offense once again here. And just, they'll probably get that A zone again. And then it's just, how do they find an opening into B? And it needs to be more of a team effort. I felt like they did try to group up a few times there, but it was really just a lot of 2 hits and a lot of 2 hits. But I think they need to just make one big solid group hit through the front, and maybe they can break their way in, or just use that glide bomb and try to get in. Because at this point, you need to get towards the finish line to at least be able to cross it.
Well, this is working out great for the Panthers. They're going to get this A zone for pretty much free, and they're not going to lose a single life. There's an opportunity here with as much time as they may get on the clock to play for lives, but Grime just walks his way forward and takes down 2. Inven does the same thing mid-map for a double of his own, and that was like the most unwinnable situation for Barry out of everything we just saw. Now, Inven's not done across the table, has a conversation with Brewing, which he will argumentatively win. Gyro up top, able to at least put some pressure on High Point from being able to freely get to B, and all of a sudden there are many problems here for the Panthers.
Yeah, and with Grime pushed up so far forward as well, this could end up making a lot of spawns for High Point, either very deep in towards the back of Fountain or into that rooftop spawn that you saw come through a few times there. It looks like they're just going to try to group up, re-hit back over towards A, try to finish this off, and this is what they've been successful on most of their offenses here throughout a lot of these early rounds, but it gets contested in the last second again, and it's looking like another good hold here for Barry on A.
Yeah, High Point, they were trying to play in transition maybe a little bit too soon, not confirming the play around A in the first place. And oh boy, now it just turns into the Buccaneer show, doesn't it? 3 life advantage for the defenders. They deplete the full tick of progress at 3. And Gyro's not done. 4 in a row, eventually dealt with, but Marskis is there to pick up where he had left off. And now it's just down to the 1v1. Grime trying to hold off defensively. Devilish not good for it. Grime steps away, goes up top, and nearly takes down Freedom. Still, though, the Barry Bucs don't want to give away this A zone. Want to win the map in the match right here. And the Glybum has to get called in just to get an extra 60 seconds. 13 to 10 the current lives. Grime not done. Wants to continue to win this defense right here at A, but it could be very costly. He's the only defender still here with Marskis, still weakened up, and as he falls, Barry, are you going to keep trying to flood to this? They sure are. They want to win the map right here, and they're not going to be able to stop the defense. So now it's a 9v7 with a minute 12 to play. This could come down to lives.
This really could come down to lives. If High Point can make a lot of value out of these next 6 lives and find a few kills onto these Barry players, they have more than enough time to be able to win this out on lives just alone.
Grime's got to get out, not going to be able to get out of dodge. And the play from Inven off the flank is dealt with. 7v6. You can slow things down if you're High Point. And Sexton from Mid-Church Alley will open up the patio. Gyro needs to respond and cannot do anything from that position. And High Point, they're now on the zone. But Inven, the last man standing defensively. 4v3 the lives. Devilish, not going to be able to hold on to the B zone. And it comes down just to Sexton and Freedom. 40 seconds on the clock, and Jesse, they're going to make a route all the way around the back.
Well, I feel like if you wanted 2 players alive here for High Point, though, it is Sexton and Freedom. By far been playing the best out of everybody right now on High Point inside of this map. And they just need to slow everything down, try to get a pick, try to work their way onto this B zone.
Fragnator on the back will tag. Freedom looking to follow up on the damage. But wait a second. Gyro's around the back side of this. He could just blow this play wide open. Trigger discipline onto Sexton. Transfers. Doesn't get the gunfight win! Sexton spins on him! A world star! We got a 2v2! Marskis will drop! And now it's just down to Inven as he finds the first! A 1v1! But the clock is a problem! Freedom has to stay on the zone! Stun will come through! Freedom tagged up! The feet, though, is not going to provide enough damage initially, but the drop down will! And the Barry Buccaneers will confirm the round 5 defense and a 3-0 in the series.
That got way too close for comfort for the Barry Bucs multiple times throughout that map, but they get the job done. At the end of the day, it's a 3-0 victory. All that matters on the scoreboard at the end is that they were able to walk away with the 3-2 win inside of the control, and evidently the 3-0 victory inside of the series. But Shift, I mean, outside of what was a kind of a pretty up and down series for in a lot of ways as a viewer, that was a really exciting win! Exclamation point at the end of that map.
Oh man, yeah, I will say I think for High Point, you kind of got a little bit of help there from Barry around those late A charges, trying to win the game on the A defense. It felt a little egregious considering that you had so many lives in your favor if you're Barry, and a full B zone that you still had not even touched yet. So maybe a bit of things to look at there. High Point on the other front, this is a loss, sure. However, it is just in the group stage. The big thing now, kind of to focus forward as we kind of synopsis and give a kind of recap over this whole series, is where were the biggest vulnerabilities as you set up to eventually play St. Clair, which could determine your ability to get in the playoff bracket or not.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be what the big question mark is, right? Because when you look at this as like an overall, Barry looked good, But in that control, that last round was very, very shaky, like you were kind of saying. If they want to win maps out against St. Clair, because St. Clair is a very capable team, especially I think in terms of respawns. I think where St. Clair kind of takes a step back and falls down is inside of the search and destroys a lot of times. But, I mean, if you're going to go up and you're going to play like that, where you're just constantly running head first at them, St. Clair can definitely punish you for that. So Barry needs to kind of keep... They might need a little bit of a heat check after that last round there, because there was a lot of lives that just got thrown away for absolutely no reason, because they were just trying to put High Point into the dirt. They do end up closing it out. But like I said before, just way too close for comfort, I think, in that exact situation.
I think on the other front, too, just because, you know, if we're going to be a little critical of Barry, we should at least be able to give the same criticism to High Point. In that second offensive round, trying to continue to play around the back for Top Church was kind of a giveaway of lives in its own self as well. I mean, it was like, I think like 18 playing up against 16 at that point in time, like with like a minute 15 on the clock or something, if I remember right. And it's one of those situations like you're not going to do enough damage to the lives to merit Barry having to bunker for that last 45 seconds or so. I think that play is a little bit too cutesy as well. But
sure.
I will also say, I think, you know, you're lucky to have Sexton, too, because, I mean, he had like 22 kills through 2 rounds or something like that. So 45 in total for the L is never good. But, well, it's good, but obviously not good for, you know, the L part of that conversation. That's what I'm trying to say.
Except for the fact that, you know, you still walk away with the loss. Exactly. Yeah, definitely not what you want there if you're High Point and if you're Sexton. Sexton's going to be looking at the rest of his team in that spot like, you know, where was my help on that map? Because he was absolutely frying everything through those first 2 rounds, especially. I think he almost had 30 after the first 2, if I'm being honest here. But, yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the only other thing maybe that I saw from High Point that I would have liked to see a little bit better in terms of that control is they were never wrapping back and making sure that there wasn't another player from Barry coming through on their flank as well, especially when trying to exit from B going over towards A. It just felt like there was always a player from Barry extended all the way up in the map into command center, and you are never going to win a control if you don't clear out your platform and you don't clear out your command center, because that is just the ultimate route where you see so many teams constantly take and then get control up in the top of arches and just shut you down from up there, as well as from your own spawn, because they spawn so damn close to it. So just a few things to be keeping your eyes out for if you're High Point there. But honestly, Shift, I know we were talking about it before and we were coming into it. I definitely see a very real opportunity where St. Clair can come into this group. If they play up against High Point, if they can come through and they can take a couple of the respawns, especially off High Point, I think there's a very real chance St. Clair can find a way to make their way out of this group.
Very much so the case. That's at least one of the confirmed other opponents that High Point and Barry will both have to play in this group. But we're still waiting to confirm the 4th team. That's an LCQ qualification match that's coming up next on broadcast. The winner of NJIT or Stockton will be the 4th team in this group. We'll get an evaluation on not just who makes it there, but would they maybe have the opportunity to also be a threat to the group. We'll find out when we come back once we set up the series right after this.